Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode in this series, Conversations with Shelly. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, thank you so much for being here. Always happy that you can stick and stay and, you know, just be around to see what this little channel is about. Welcome. Again, thank you immensely. And for those of you who are joining me regularly. You're always here once I post or once I, um, upload a video that you are here watching, sticking and staying. And for that, I am also grateful and I will say welcome back. So, this episode, I want to focus on a couple of things that I wish I knew or I wish I did prior to going on a GLP-1. Now, my experience on a GLP-1 was a little bit um, well researched, though there are some things that I just did not address my mind to. And even though I did spend what I consider to have been a great amount of, time researching what GLP-1s were, what were they made up of, how to go about getting them, I did it all. There are just some things that no matter how much you think you know, and this is the reality of GLP-1s, no matter how much you think you know, there's always more to learn, right? And when I was doing my recent episode on my 3-month review, because of course, for those of you who are not so new here, you would have known that I started on August 18, 2025, which is exactly or close to about 12 weeks ago. Now, my starting weight, as I would have told you, was 215. Mark, guys, if you know me, you know I didn't necessarily look like 215 because of height and just pretty much how I carried the weight around. But regardless of how I carried the weight, my BMI, based on the standard of which BMIs are calculated, I was considered to be obese. And added to the fact that I was also a type 2 diabetic, this became for me a reality. Just trying to make sure that I get control of both conditions, because for me I have always known them to be chronic and progressive diseases. So for me, having as much knowledge of a GLP-1 as I possibly could get was very important and very critical to me being able to control or mitigate these conditions as much as I could. But as I said, albeit and all that said, there are just some things that you're just not gonna have full knowledge of, right? And in all fairness, this is really just one of them. Like every day, something changes. You hear different feedback and different stories, and you are forced again to do some additional research. So, for this week, my intention is very deliberate. What I wanted to do was to share with you some of the things I wish I had zoomed in on. Not necessarily that I wish I knew, but I probably knew them, but I didn't put a lens to it as much as I should have now that I'm 12 weeks in, right? So, if you're thinking about starting a GLP-1 medication like any of the ones that I've just mentioned or any of the compound alternatives, here are some things that, as I said, I definitely wish I had zoomed in on, and I hope that you will be able to use in your um, consideration of going on a GLP-1. So the first one that I wanted to rest with you is the fact that results take time, and nobody's experience is going to be duplicated. Your experience may not be mine, and likewise, my experience may not be yours, right? And I always say this in life, that when you try to compare yourself with other persons, no matter what it is, it steals the joy that you find in the thing that you're doing. So my thing is, competition steals your peace, it steals your joy. So do not compare your experience, your journey, your results with anybody else that you may see on these YouTube channels, or you may hear somebody talk about, because the reality is our bodies are different, and what may work with the same time frame may not work for you. And it doesn't mean anything except that your results will come. And you just have to understand that your results will take time. So the first thing I wish I knew was that exactly that results takes time, right? Because when I went on this, I was busy, doing my research, and there were persons in the community who were saying, "Oh, I lost 10 pounds in 1 week. Oh, I lost 30 pounds in 15 days. Oh, I lost 5 pounds in a day." And I was going, "What? What? This is something that I'm gonna have to get with." And this was exactly how I approached my first set of, you know, knowledge on GLP-1s and how I intended to have treated with Mounjaro. No, not saying that these persons are not being honest, right? Because I sure they are. All I'm saying is that for your experience, go into it on a more, leveled understanding that what may works for one person may just not work for you. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you are not benefiting from the drug, right? So while I went into it thinking, albeit I should have known better, but I went into it thinking that my results are going to be immediate. Like, I'm going to lose weight, my blood sugar is going to go down. And I went into it thinking that there's going to be quick losses, quick falls in my blood glucose sugar. And the reality was that that was not my truth, right? So for most users, we do notice change, and the change will happen over time. No, it's your patience that will endure, and not necessarily the quickness or speed with which you're doing this with. So my advice that I would have given myself 12 weeks ago, and the advice that I'm now giving to you who may be considering, or you may have started recently, and your expectations are just through the roof because of what you're seeing and what you're hearing, is that be patient. Be patient, but more so be consistent. And those are the two key things that will get you to where you want to be. Now, the second thing that I wish I had zoomed in on. Now, remember, it's not that I didn't know, because as I tell you, I am the girl who will research to the moon and back, right? So it's not that I did not know, but I didn't zoom in on the knowledge of it to make it now, in hindsight, go, "Oh yeah, I didn't know that. I knew that fully." That's not where I'm at today. Where I'm at today is, "Oh yeah, I know it. I knew it. But did I really know it?" If that makes sense, right? So the second thing that I wish I had zoomed in on and focused on are side effects and how common they are. Like, I remember when I first heard about Ozempic, and you were watching those ads on the TV, and it says, "Consult your medical practitioner because there's gonna be this and there's gonna be that and you're gonna be that." And I was sitting watching the TV going, "Oh my God, I supposed to take a medication to assist me with my glucose levels, but it's going to cause me to vomit and diarrhea and headache." And trust me, that fear drove me to go into the corner and say, not this, right? But the reality of it is that when I really sat into it and I really started to understand medications on a whole, I was able to say, "But wait, which medication don't give you something? Which medication don't give you something?" It's just a matter of perspective and point of view. So once you go into it, yes, you're gonna hear the noise, you're gonna hear that you're gonna vomit, you're gonna have nausea, you're gonna have upset stomach, you're gonna have gassy burps, you're gonna have hair loss, you're gonna have headaches, you're gonna have insomnia, anxiety, you're gonna hear it all. But my advice to you, which I wish I'd given myself 12 weeks ago, is that most medications will have some impact on your body that you may not have considered, you may not have contemplated, you may not even have thought about until you actually ingest or digest the medication. So while it happened to be a commonality amongst GLP-1 users, meaning the side effects being so common, you may want to just stock up on some over-the-counter things to address the things that you're hearing. So for me, hindsight 2020, I knew that there are going to be side effects. What I wish I had done in hindsight is stock up on things that would have assisted me with um, upset stomach or hair loss or um, constipation or diarrhea, whatever those things would have been. I wish I had stocked up on them ahead of time and created like a GLP-1 pre-kit so that once the side effect came, I had something right away. For example, I don't suffer from headaches too much. But when the headaches came and I was scrambling around the house trying to find something as simple as a Panadol or Excedrin, I just couldn't find it. Because as I said, I didn't suffer from headaches. I didn't need to have those in my medicine cabinet. But then when I started to feel it, I had to now go looking for it because I now said, oh, but this is a side effect of the thing. But then I wasn't prepared. So it took me about 2-3 days thinking that this thing was going to go away and it didn't. And had I have those things pre-prepared, I would have gone through my side effects phase of the GLP-1 in a much smoother way. Similarly, I mentioned the hair loss. Now, I knew about the side effect of hair loss, guys. It wasn't lost on me in my research. But had I prepared myself that I could potentially be somebody who would have seen hair loss, I would have had my Menodoxal or whatever the name is. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure if that's a medical name. But I would have, I can drop it down in the comment, what I bought for it and what assisted. But I would have pre-prepared myself for these things. And similarly, the constipation, the diarrhea, hello, please, we know the little pink thing in the, bo- in the bottle. Would have stocked up on those things and I would have gone through a very easy breezy kind of a thing. As I said, the insomnia, I would have stocked up on melatonin. I learned that maybe week 10 or 12 in that, hey, grab yourself some melatonin, grab yourself some lavender oil and just be done with that. So that's something that I wish I'd focused in on in terms of the side effect and understanding what happened 12 weeks later in hindsight. No, we are at my favorite one of them all, cost. Guys, from video one, I was the one who told her that it's up my dear. You remember that? Remember, so I was the one who telling her say dear bad, 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 bad. So I knew about the cost. I knew about the cost. But had I focused in on the cost and created a budget for this beyond what I thought would have been um, a manageable cost, I would probably be still on the branded version. But when I started to see that cost balloon and balloon and balloon, and I'm not necessarily near my goal, and I'm looking at what my potential goal could look like in the next XYZ, and the impact that that would have on my pocket, I had to say, oh no, somebody should have warned me about this more, keenly, because she was warned, but she wasn't warned keenly. So yes, by the time I spent the good money, that's when I realized I really didn't focus in on cost and what this cost could really be. So for those of you who are considering a GLP-1, think about the amount of weight you have to lose, or think about the extent of your blood glucose level and what that may look like to be resolved over at least a year and a half. Because if you look at all the persons that are within this space, within this YouTube community talking about GLP-1s and GLP-1 medications, you'll realize that a lot of them have been on this medication for 1, 2, 3 years. So I would say, hindsight 2020, budget for your GLP-1 medications for at least a year. So if you're going to go on the compound version and your compound version is costing you, say, $200 or $300 per month, budget that $300 times the 12 months, because chances are you're not going to achieve And I'm not saying that you're not going to, that's kind of absolute, but just to create a very general space for you to have a realistic expectation of what it may look like in terms of cost. Because I honestly thought by now I would have gotten to a weight range or a glucose range that I could have ended this thing within 3 months. But here I am, still needing to have some blood glucose control, and of course, still not at the desired weight to take me out of the obesity category. So I would say I didn't budget well for this thing, right? So budget, budget for at least a year to be on this medication if you want to see desired results. And this is just my experience. I'm not no medical doctor here. I'm not trying to give you medical advice, just from my own experience and what I have noted and observed in this space as well. So cost can be significant, um, especially if you're on the branded versions that I mentioned. And without insurance, these things can skyrocket if you're paying out of pocket. God help us for those of us who are paying out of pocket. And while the component versions are cheaper, you still have to dabble about, the quality and the sanitization around it. And again, just doing your research. So it is important to budget for ongoing treatment and make this source one that is reliable. Um, that you're not just dabbling into money that you need for other critical things. So budget, budget, budget. I will say that until the cows come home, because it happened to me, and right now I had to pause from the branded version and look into some compounded version in order to address the budgeting issue and the cost prohibitiveness of it all. The next thing that I wish I knew in full, or what I thought I knew with my lens on, was lifestyle still matters, right? So while GLP medications are powerful and they're the magic jab and they're the magic pill and all of these things, they are not, in truth and in actuality, magic solutions. They are tools that can assist you in getting to a point. But you have to combine your treatment with healthy diet, regular exercise, good sleep, and all the other things that come with you having a full, um, achievable, and maintained results, right? So, I will say your lifestyle will always be important. Whether you are looking into this as a lifetime thing by taking it as a obesity drug or as a diabetic um, control mechanism, whatever it is, if your lifestyle doesn't change, the magic, this the so-called magic bullet or this magic pill or this magic injection will now seem like a flop, because it is not really a magic tool. If it was a magic tool, you wouldn't have persons who are saying that they gained back X, Y, and Z. Magic means magic, and this is not in that same realm. Okay? You do lose the weight because it's a powerful tool, it's a powerful solution to weight loss and diabetic control. But without a change in lifestyle, guys, you're gonna go back to right where you are. So you have to develop that sense of um understanding that this is not something that you take and just your life just continue. You drink, you smoke, you eat anything. This is not that kind of a thing, right? So, as I said, while I knew this to have been the case, hindsight 2020, I really realized that I could not, did not, will not go back to eating and behaving in the same way that I did back then. Now, the final uh, thing that I wish I knew before I went on a GLP-1 is know your source. Know exactly where the source of your medication is coming from. Understand what is FDA approved, what has gone through clinical trial. Right now, we have um, retatrutide that is under clinical trial, and a lot of it is being sold on the gray market. Know your source. Always adhere to your FDA approvals. Ensure that you are taking medications that have been tested, tried, and true. And you know, as I said, who are your telehealth providers, who are your pharmacies that are assisting with your compounds, and uh, ensure that you understand and you do your background check. Make sure that your pharmacy and your provider is a reputable one to avoid, the issue of quality and safety issue. And I think those are some of the five things. I think that's five. Some of the things that I would have wanted to, zoom in a little bit more on when I started my journey on Mounjaro slash compound trizepatide. So, in sum, to conclude, to wrap this up, GLP-1 medications like Mounjaro and the compounded alternatives, they can be effective and safe, but knowing what to be expected also helps you to avoid any surprises that may come along the way. So remember, results takes time, side effects are common but manageable, cost matters, your lifestyle choices are key, and always check your source. If you found this video to have been helpful, I always ask that you consider liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing with your friends. And we'd love to hear your experience on your GLP-1 therapy. And if you have any questions, feel free to start sharing. So thank you once again, my beautiful extraordinaires, for being on yet another episode of my GLP-1 journey as I talk about things I wish I knew in focus. Thank you once again, guys. Take care until I see you on the next one.